Welcome to the Mark Divine Show. This is Mark Divine, your host. Thanks for joining me today. Super stoked to have you here. Today, we're going to do another solo cast. So strap in and get ready to learn some interesting things. We're going to talk about fear today. But before we do, I just want to once again say thank you for joining me on the Mark Divine Show, where we learn how to be uncommon, tap into our unbeatable mind, 20x our potential, and then pay it forward in service. Mostly by the way we show up, so we can be the change we want to see in the world at scale, eventually inspiring, training, and transforming over 100 million people in the next 25 years. We can do our part to help the world become more positive, less violent, and just a nicer place to be. So today I want to talk about fear. Speaking of nice, a lot of fear going on, a lot of fear porn in our culture coming from news and social media and our government. What the heck? All sorts of people, our folks out there are like spinning, going, what's going on, right? We got drones flying all over the country and the government says, don't worry, nothing to fear. Like, okay, we got fear mongering about the next pandemic and people are terrified that they're going to end up having to wear masks and be locked down. And so you get triggered into fear. And we want to talk about that, right? First of all, recognize that there's a reason they're doing that, because if a culture that is in fear is easy to control and manipulate. And that's what government's all about. It's control and manipulate. That's their job. So, instead of like staying in fear and being angry at them, take control of your own life, take control of your own mind, and just smile and wave at all that. That's just the dance of life. It is what it is. We're not going to single-handedly change it, but together as a collective, we can change a lot, right? We saw that in the last election, right? We see it with governments falling all the time across the world, right? So as a collective, we operate, but individually, we take control of our internal environments, the only thing we can control, and we got to live a positive, abundant, optimistic life. Otherwise, you will suffer. So we don't want to suffer. Our whole point here with Unbeatable Mind and what my work is, and Catherine and everyone involved here with the show, including John at Jet Studios, is to bring more light in the world to help you end the suffering that you experience in your own life. So what about fear? Fear, a couple acronyms I love. Fear is a false expectation appearing real. So we know that expectations are probably not a great thing to really hold on to anyways, because you don't have any control how the things that you engage with in life and your projects and even the people are going to turn out, or what they're going to do, or how things will look like in the end. So having expectation is just a bad idea to begin with. To have a false expectation is even worse. So you got to let that go. So the key here to eradicate the fear of a false expectation appearing real is not to have any expectation, right? You can have a goal, you can set the vision, you can work toward a better future, but let go of the expectation that it has to be a certain way, that you can control some ideal outcome, because you can't.
What's your grand ambition, your greatest goal? And are you there yet? The highest achievers are still striving, still reaching for something more. They're the ones who approach the impossible and embrace it. For those people, there's the Defender. Engineered to meet challenges head-on, the Defender is an icon reimagined for a new generation of explorers. With its unstoppable capability, it's ready to take you beyond what you thought possible. Fully equipped for 21st century adventures, the Defender features 3D surround cameras with clear sight ground view, letting you anticipate obstacles and conquer rough terrain with confidence. The next generation Pivi Pro infotainment system helps you make more of your world, while intuitive driver displays are customized to your journey. Whether it's the Defender 90, the 110, or 130, there's a vehicle in this family built for your adventure. With robust materials, impressive cargo capacity, and legendary capability both off-road and on, the Defender exudes confidence in every situation. So it's time to explore your way and embrace the impossible. Check out the Defender, capable of great things and icon of adventure. Explore the full Defender lineup at LandRoverUSA.com. Again, LandRoverUSA.com. In a perfect world, we'd all get enough of the nutrients we need for high-level performance from the food we eat alone. But this is not a perfect world. It's the real world. And everyone could use some help to continue to find their new personal best day after day. For me, that's with supplementation and nailing the basics. I use Momentous. I started with the Momentous 3, protein, creatine, and omega-3. These 3 nutrients, research shows, are the foundation of long-term health, and if taken daily, the protocol supports every cellular function of the brain and body, muscle recovery and growth to focus and energy. The Momentous 3 is the easiest way to drive the biggest impact on your health and lifespan. Momentous takes it a step further, though, as a supplement company determined to bring trust and transparency to a space lacking both. All their formulas are designed with human performance experts and are NSF and Informed Sports certified for use. That means sourcing ingredients for quality, not just what's cheapest, and what's on the label is exactly what you're getting. Momentous is driven by what they call the Momentous Standard, and it's become synonymous with the industry's gold standard in quality and efficacy. So, if you're interested in making a true investment in your health, why not join the best in human performance and be part of the change in raising the bar on supplements? Go to livemomentous.com, use the code DIVINE, DIVINE, for 20% off your new routine today. Again, livemomentous, LIVEMOMENTOUS.com, and use that code DIVINE. And thanks, Momentous, for being a sponsor of the Mark Divine Show.
In the yoga tradition, we call this non-attachment, or aparigraha. And aparigraha is simply that, to let go of the expectation of some outcome, let go of the expectation that you own anything. You don't, you're just borrowing it. Let go of the expectation that you can control others. You can try, but it's not going to work out well. Having those expectations, having those attachments leads to a fear, and that fear is one of loss, one of not getting what you think you deserve or what you want. So this is a relatively simple fear to understand, but it's not so easy to let go. So we got to work on that non-attachment, right? This is something that can be an object of your meditation. What are you attached to? How are you attached? What do you cling to? Do you have expectations? Do you judge yourself against some future ideal? Or do you look backwards and be grateful for the accomplishments and things you already have in your life? I suggest the latter. The other acronym I love is of false evidence appearing real. So this is like the story of the going into the shed and it's dark and you see a snake in the shed and it scares you to death. You run out of the shed and you go get a flashlight and a club and you come back, club that snake, and you shine a light on it and you see it's just a coiled rope. So that's false evidence appearing real. This is when you mistake something for something else. And how often are you misperceiving things? I would say quite a bit, right? The perceptual capacity of most human beings is fairly limited because you're operating out of the conditioning of the mind that's been conditioned since birth to think things are a certain way, when in fact they may not be that way. And everybody's conditioning is different. So there's actually, I like to say that there's not one world out there. There's 8 billion worlds. Every single human being lives in a unique world. From their perspective, things seem to be a certain way, like the way. But their perspective is completely different than the person standing next to them or across the room from them and every other person on the planet. So there's 8 billion worlds. So take control of your world and recognize that your perception is not someone else's perception. And so if you're making assumptions, then there's a very good chance that you're misperceiving something and that you're going to have a false evidence that appears real based upon what you perceive another individual to be thinking or saying. Where this shows up quite a bit in terms of fear is fear of how other people are perceiving you. Now, it's very real that a lot of people are judging you. So what? Right? That's on them. Right? But misperception around that and to think that everyone, hates you because one critic, posted a bad review, that's irrational fear. So you can let that go. Work on that. Then there's very realistic fear, right? So it is realistic fear if you see drones in the sky and you think, oh my God, are these drones or are these like UFOs? And if there's 5,000 drone sightings across the United States and Europe, it would be a realistic thing to think, holy shit, I'm scared. Maybe this is something big, right? It could affect um, everything, right? What if it was an alien invasion? I mean, sure you've had those thoughts. We all have, like, wow. Or what's our government up to now that they're lying about or not telling us about? And so you have this like, wow, I'm really fearful about what's happening in the world right now. I'm fearful about nuclear war because of all the saber rattling over Ukraine and Russia. I'm fearful about these drones in the sky that nobody can explain. I'm fearful about the next pandemic that the WHO and the Gates Foundation seem to be cooking up or preparing for. All this stuff like is unbelievable. It's hard to believe that it can happen, and it can lead to almost a traumatizing effect where you get really kind of in a state of hyper arousal. So this is actually rational. It's not irrational. It's not a false expectation. It's not false evidence. But it's not good for you to let it debilitate you, right? Things will happen. Crazy stuff always happens in the world. And if there's real danger coming your way, you've got to be aware of it, and you need to make plans. We should all make plans. But you don't want to let it debilitate you, because then even if the danger does come, you'll be trapped. You won't be able to move. You'll be stuck in fight or flight or freeze or fawn.
I'd like to let you know about 2 of our SealFit supplement products that are getting amazing feedback and positive reviews on Amazon. The first is SealFit Electro Greens. This is the first ever 2-in-1 USDA organic green superfood powder plus electrolytes. You no longer need to buy a greens powder and an electrolytes powder separately, because we made a great tasting combo perfected for those who demand the most from their bodies and minds. The second product is SealFit Creatine and Colostrum. This is a perfect blend with 5 milligrams of creatine monohydrate combined with 2 milligrams of grass-fed colostrum per serving. These are 2 great ingredients that you can now get in one simple scoop. You can even mix it right in with your SealFit Electro Greens first thing every morning to start your day off right. That's what I do. And for a limited time, we're giving podcast listeners 25% off your entire order. Go to SealFitSupplements.com to see all our products, or search for them on Amazon, and use the code SEALFIT25OFF at checkout to get 25% off your entire order at Amazon. Again, SealFit25OFF. Check them out. These are really awesome products. I know you're going to love them. Ooh-yah. You ever feel sluggish or uncomfortable after a meal? Well, we've all been there. What if there was a simple way to support your overall well-being with gut health? Well, check out DS-01 by Seed, the daily symbiotic that's revolutionizing gut health. Imagine starting your day feeling light, energized, and ready to take on the world. That's the power of DS-01. Formulated with 24 clinically studied strains, this powerhouse supplement supports not just gut health, but also skin health, heart health, and immune function, all in just 2 easy-to-take capsules. Don't just take my word for it. I've been using DS-01 for a couple months, and the difference is night and day. My digestion feels smoother, my energy levels are more consistent, and I even notice my skin looking clearer and healthier. Best part, it's incredibly easy to incorporate into your daily routine. I take mine first thing in the morning. It's become as natural as brushing my teeth, and I'm not alone. 92% of DS-01 users recommend it to friends and family. So if you're ready to transform your health from the inside out, visit seed.com, SEED.com/divine. That's DIVINE. Use the code 2525divine for 25% off your first month of DS-01. Again, SEED.com/divine, code 25divine. Start your journey to better health today with DS-01 by Seed.
So the tool that we use in the SEALs for this was to pause, breathe, think, and then act. And the pause is really important, because anytime you start to feel that sense of I'm out of control, this is the latest crisis or what's happening to me, and it could be something even with your family. Pausing gives yourself the opportunity, right, to not react. So okay, just pause. let's see what's going on here. Let's not overreact. And then you breathe. And the breathing that we teach is like deep diaphragmatic nostril breathing, 5 count in, 5 count out, and or box breathing. If you're in a place where you can do box breathing, which is to breathe in that box pattern. And the breathing is an arousal control mechanism. So the breathing will reset your nervous system, activate the parasympathetic rest and digest, and calm you down. And so it's also a great as a daily practice. And then thinking, like, what are we going to think about? Well, let's make sure that we're thinking positively and out of that fear loop, right? So at Unbeatable Mind, I teach an interdiction process where you witness yourself spinning into a negative fear loop or fear-based internal dialogue, and you intercept it, you interdict it with a powerful positive statement that says, no, not now. I'm not going to have that thought pattern. That's not serving me. I'm going to redirect my attention to something more positive and productive. And then you'll maintain it. That's WIRM. Maintain it with a positive mantra. Positive, right? And we want to also think about what's the smallest thing that I can do right now to get off the X, to move toward safety, to move in a more positive direction. So set some micro goals. Also, a great way to intervene here is to think about bigger picture. Like in 10 years, will this matter? 20 years, will it matter? 5 years, will it matter? 5 months, will it matter? 5 weeks, will it matter? Right? That type of thing. So pause, breathe, think, and act. Helps get us situated, grounded, more positive, and back in control when that type of acute fear, that realistic fear of something happening to us accrues. Now, there's another type of fear that arises repeatedly, and this is the type of fear that is hard to pinpoint. And the pause, breathe, think, and act doesn't always work with that. In fact, it rarely does. Because this is the fear that comes from either primordial fear of death, which can get activated with normal things in life or triggered, but also fear from the traumas of our childhood. And so you could have a lot of fear of conflict, for instance, because you're conflict avoidant, because you were shamed as a child. Right? And so that fear is just going to keep coming up and up and up. And yeah, you can pause and breathe and think about it and act on it all you want, but it's still going to come up. So those types of fears that are based upon or built upon adaptive child trauma conditioning need to be dealt with through emotional work, through therapy, and deep introspection and contemplation. So regardless of what your fears are, and you might have elements of all the ones that we talked about today, just, it helps me to keep in mind that at your center, at your core, at your irreducible core, everything's okay. Right? You are already free. You are already whole. You're already amazing. And there is absolutely nothing to fear because you are a spiritual being having this human existence. All fear resides in the ego's need for survival, craving for significance in the world and success. So I think the master practice for me is to recognize that any fear you experience is coming from the ego and the ego's conditioning. So the quick route out of that fear is to recognize that that's not who you really are. So focus on that, on who you really are. Remember who you really are, and your fears will dissipate, blow away. Thanks for joining me today on the Mark Divine Show. Stay focused, stay positive, and let's go to town to work on those fears. Booyah.